Cool. All right. So, just for the newcomers, welcome to the weekly webinar. Way that this works is, well, welcome to the old comers too, but the old comers know how this works. So, basically, I'm going to present my analysis on a couple of different assets. Again, this is my own private analysis, not a recommendation to buy or sell anything. Any trades you make are your own risk. What we're going to do is go through a couple of different assets, present possible trades for the coming week, look at the trend. I'll get rid of the panel in a second. Look at the trend and, that kind of stuff. What we will do is pause in between assets while we are, pausing. I will accept questions. Okay, so I'll say when it's time for questions, you can raise your hand, and that's how it works. Pretty simple. Okay. Can you guys see? I'm saying, is the panel still blocking the screen? Okay, I'll try to move it around, but I'm logged in from a remote location, so I'm not sure I can actually turn it off altogether, because I see it as well. Okay, so here we go. I'll try to keep it out of the way. All right, so we're going to start with the ES. I have a bunch of unread messages. Okay, let's start there. Blah, blah, blah. I can. Yeah, it's still there, but I'm not going to be able to move it. Yeah, I can try to minimize it, but then again, it's a little bit hard for me to draw, I think. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. Yeah, well, actually, it just jumped to one of the other monitors, so I got to drag it back here for a second. Give me a second. Yeah, it's gone because I can't see it. I can't see it either. Just give me a minute. It's on the other monitor. I got to drag it here now. Yeah, so it's going to stay on. It's going to stay on this time. Sorry, guys. No choice because it's just going to be too hard for me to draw every time I do this. So I'll just, let's see, if I push it to the side like this, compact view, maybe that'll help. Let's see if that does a little better. Okay. So, all right, we're leaving it like this. Sorry. Okay, let's go. As far as ES is concerned, this week, clearly very, very strong. Towards the end of the week, obviously most of it happened later in the week, but we did pull back, if you notice, into this demand zone back here that we had on our charts for quite some time. It's the second time we went into it. Got a little deeper this time, and it obviously got to a new all-time high. So hip, hip, hooray. The trend is continuing. We are now like 10 weeks in a row in green, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. One little blip of a doji red in there, but nothing. So there is no other trade other than long, as far as I'm concerned. You cannot get short this market. You will get crushed until it's ready to sell off, and it is not ready to sell off, and therefore all you do is keep buying the demand in a pullback. And I know it's crazy and it sounds ridiculous because we're in the sky, but there is no end to the sky. The sky is unlimited. You get out into outer space and it doesn't stop. It keeps going and going and going and going until it eventually runs out of fuel and crashes back to Earth. Well, until that happens, it's going to keep going. So don't be stupid and think you know where the top is. You don't. Neither do I, and neither does anybody else. And therefore, you buy the pullback into demand. Okay, so that's clearly what's been working for the past, 4 or 5 years. Okay, so until it stops working, it's going to keep working. Okay, where's the demand? At this point, we're looking at somewhere around 2560. There's something up here in this 2560 range. I'll buy a little closer to current price. There's 2570-ish or something like that. But that's it. That's the only possible trade. Okay, so let's go on. Look at NQ. This one was just rocket ship stuff, mostly driven by Amazon, on Google. This past, Friday's a ridiculous rally. So, blasted through all the way up, engulfing candle on the weekly, where, again, in outer space, there's nothing to stop this thing until we get a pullback. It's what you do. You just wait and buy the pullback. There's no other trade to be had until something, starts rolling over and starts creating some lower highs or something like that, then we could talk. But until that happens, there is nothing other than pullback into demand. Where is that? Looking around 6,100 On the NASDAQ, because of Friday's ridiculous 100-point rally, there's really nothing underneath it. It went straight into one direction. There's like this over here on the 15 that maybe will get touched. We'll see. It is a valid zone, 61, 74, 75, for a long, to join the longs. Okay? That's it. No other trades. Okay? If you have a question, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to continue. No questions? Cool. Okay, let's go. Crude. All right, so crude had a really nice rally on Friday afternoon. The week was totally up. It went right to our anticipated location. Okay, so that was our trade of the week last week. Worked out really nicely. We can see that we have arrived into actually a monthly supply. Okay. You could see that. The last time we were here was beginning of 2017. And we're back to there now. It is fresh, and therefore we should expect a pretty decent pullback. Can we get a little bit higher? Absolutely. Will we break the zone without a pullback? Absolutely not. Which means, the longs, as far as I'm concerned, are done. We're starting to look for the shorts at this point. There's going to be a pullback somewhere into, I think, around the 52 range before we end up blasting up towards the end of the year into this. Okay, we will touch this, I think, before the year's end. We will see 60, and we're going to hit this fresh supply, and once that happens, it's anybody's guess on what's going to happen. Maybe we're going to get a pullback, or we're going to start to have a massive pullback. How far it's going to go, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit to try to figure that part out. But what I can see so far is, potentially a little bit higher up Monday, Tuesday type of thing, and by the end of the week, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a pullback of a couple of dollars down into the 52 range. Okay, we'll show it to you now. This was the monthly. Let's look at the weekly chart. All right, there's our weekly. You could see the last time we were here was up there, beginning of January, 2017, a little bit end of 2016, and totally first time we've been here all year. Okay, and it's fresh supply, and therefore we should expect a sell-off from this area. Okay, it's outside the Bollinger Band, so we've pretty much stretched ourselves pretty deep. Can we get a little deeper in the zone? Of course we can. Right, the zone goes up to 55.24. There's a couple of levels on the lower time frames that are before that, and I'm thinking by the end of the week we see this test right here, back test to the breakout area, and then probably the next leg up into the 60 range. Okay, so for now I would say early strength into later weakness of the week. Okay, so maybe after the inventory reports or something like that on Wednesday when the sell-off will come in, Monday, Tuesday up, and then after that we're going to start turning around, I think. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Let's get this out of the way. Okay. So there's our supply up there at 54.45 on the daily chart, right? It's got some more room to get there still. We cleared this level on Friday, this one back here. I thought we would get a little bit more of a reaction out of this thing, but we didn't. And we just were able to get through that, and now we're up into this area back here. The freshest part of the zone starts at 54.45, so I'm pretty sure we're probably going to touch that. And maybe tonight, maybe we gap up or something like that, and then we start pulling back. And 52 is basically this, where we just broke out of. So a retracement of, let's say, Friday's action by the end of the week is what I'm anticipating for us to see this week coming up on crude. Okay. It doesn't mean get short right now. It means we wait until, we get a decent signal to get short. Okay. Let's take a look at the 240. This is just rocket ship stuff, right? We came into one of our little lower time frame zones over here. It was obviously the breakout back test, right? We made this new high up here, right there, and then we pulled back a little bit. We caught some demand under here, and it just exploded. Bang, 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 bang. Okay, closing on the highs, so that's really strong. Let's take a look at the CL on the 60 chart. Okay, there's our 60, and a couple levels of demand here underneath us that we can try to join here. We're thinking there might be a little bit of still a little bit more up, about a buck maybe, potentially up to 55.20, whatever the level was. So, a pullback into this level is definitely a long, okay? Expect after that either we're going to fail, make a lower high, or we'll get up and make a new high up to the 55 and change area. If we just shoot up into that area, so there's a potential to take that short up there. That's really stretching things. It's going to be a counter trend trade, and that means that the target for if you do take that short up there is this demand zone. That's it. Okay, that's as far as you can take it, because you should expect that that demand zone will create a lower high for us, and then we start rolling, rolling over, and that's when the real short will start after that. So 2 potential trades out of this zone. It's either we get a little pullback now, we can buy it long and aim for the 54, 54.50, 55 area up there, or we don't pull back at all. We just shoot up into that zone. We can take a short from there, aiming for here. Okay, and then we could actually flip around again from this zone and consider that, see what happens as we get near the tops. If we start showing, lower highs, exit the longs there and actually start taking a short, because there's a lot of air under here. So a lot of good trades setting up for crude. Okay, it's probably the one that we're going to trade the most this week, I would think, is crude. There are 2 other beautiful, beautiful setups that I've seen that I want to share with you. We'll get there. They're towards the end. Okay. In the meantime, anybody have a question about crude? Nobody? Okay, cool. Unless I'm just not seeing the questions. Is that what's happening? Let me see. Check the other monitor there. Nope. I don't see it. I don't see anybody raising their hands. So, okay, no questions for that. Let's go continue. Yeah, cool. No questions in the queue. All right. Alrighty, let's go on. Next. Gold. What is gold up to? Well, okay, we saw from last week, right, that we got those twins, and this week we got a continuation, and it was looking real ugly till Friday. We'll take a look. So there's the twins from that was two weeks ago, all right, and then this week we started getting continuation, and it looks like we came right to some prior lows back here, and we started to hold a little bit. Okay, I'm going to show you what it's bouncing off of and what we can anticipate happening here for this coming week for gold. There is the possibility that we get a little deeper down. I really hope it doesn't, but it's possible. And after that, it's going to just turn over and start rallying again. But let's take a look. On the daily chart, what's happening, right? So there's our little bounce up. We're in an uptrend on the daily chart, and this is really the last level of defense. This wick down here for the trend. We do have a lower high, and if we make this lower low under this wick, then the trend is actually going to flip over to down on the daily chart, right? So they started defending that level. You can see it is a fresh demand zone. Well, sort of, not really fresh, but maybe it's outside the Bollinger Bands, right? We hit it here the first time. The zone is back here. This is where it came from. Okay, the origin of the zone is over here, and we hit it there, and then we rallied up to this, whatever this was, some supply in a lower time frame. We pushed back, and now we double bottomed, which is really nice if we can get it to continue, because by definition, a double bottom usually will break the midpoint and go back to the origin of where it started from. Well, that's all the way up here, right? If this is the beginning and this is the middle of the bubble bottom and this is the other side of the double bottom, we should start doing this, go all the way back to the top. All right, so the continuation of this rally that started on Friday afternoon is really, really important for gold this week. Must continue, because if it rolls over, you can see that the next level down is really underneath here. It's around, it's 57 or in the 48 range, somewhere down here. The 200 moving average is sitting underneath us at around 60, so that's a possibility. Right, and then the zone goes down to 57, and there's another one at 48 or so. So, if it starts breaking down and gets into a downtrend, I'm pretty sure we're going to touch at least the 50 moving average, the 200 moving average, potentially even beyond that. So it's really important for the bulls to get this thing going right away out of the gate tonight, even if possible. Let's take a look on the lower time frames and what the bounce is looking like and how we can actually trade what's going on. Okay, so that's daily. So, if you look at the 240 chart, okay, we're in a downtrend. That's what I would call this, okay? And right now, we actually just did what you can see, right? We had this little channel going on. We tried to peek up above it, and we came back in. And instead of breaking down, which is what it should have done, it actually held this low, right, down here. That was the prior low. That's that other wick, right? It was just shown on the daily chart. And now we came down into here, okay, and we made it a dot higher, but we started breaking out to the upside, okay? And there's air above us, right? So this is the most recent low, and therefore for trend to change, we actually need a pullback first to make a higher low and then a higher high, right? We need something to look like this. Erase. And we need a push up, pull back. Oops, I'm sorry about that. It keeps dragging too far. We'll fix that again. Okay. Up, down, oh, two. Doesn't need to go that far. Sorry about that. Okay, I guess because I'm remotely connected to my computer, so that's what's happening. We need some kind of higher low than this, and then break the pivot. That would be here, and then we can have an uptrend. And that's basically what I think is actually going to happen. Which means that for me, that for gold, what I'm waiting for right now to get long is actually that higher low to show up on the chart. Okay, you'll see as I go down through the lower time frames that this move up is one shot. Okay, and we're arriving into some supply that I believe will give us that higher low that we're looking for to be able to start taking long to make that play off the double bottom that I'm talking about on the daily chart. So if we look here, okay, this is the level that I was really holding up most of the week. It's the one that we actually, this blue level on there is the one that I talked about the beginning of the week of last week's webinar. Right, when we came into the zone that was back in here was the man that's back here someplace. That's what the blue is. And we started around here. So I had a really nice trade out of it. It was like 10, 11 bucks. But the problem was it couldn't get anything going. It never made a higher high after that first bounce. It came into the supply, and then it came pull back, and then it rallied up, made a lower high, and therefore that's it. The bears started smelling blood. They ended up taking out the pivot. They got into the zone. They got deeper into the zone, and then it rallied up again. And then it turned over, started breaking down, came to this new demand that's under here apparently, and started pushing us up. You'll notice there's no pullbacks here. This is all one move up out of the bottom of this downtrend that we're in. So in order for this to flip, we actually need a pullback into a higher time into a demand zone somewhere under here, which I'll show it to you in a minute on the 15. That's what we're looking for. I want to clear out this little supply that we have above us. Hopefully that'll get us out of the way. We push into this demand that's sitting over here around 1270-ish, and then we turn this around, and now we can start playing that double bottom on the daily chart where, we can aim all the way back to at least, I would say, 1300 up here place. For sure here. This, I'm no doubt we're going to touch this week, 87 and change. I think we're even going to see, possibly this level. Okay, so there's a pretty good bounce coming, maybe 20 bucks for gold, but it isn't going to happen right away. It actually might be a little bit of additional weakness first, and then the longs are going to start. Okay, so let's go take a look at the lower time frame where the zone is and what should happen as we arrive into that area. Okay, so here's our 15 chart, and that's the level that I'm looking at right there. Okay, so you can see where the supply is on the 15. We're about to hit it, or maybe we'll gap through it if we're lucky. And hit this area, a demand in this zone, somewhere right around 70 is where we're looking to join this into, that beginning of that really big long. Okay, so I would say longs around 70, aiming for at least 84 minimum. Okay, and potentially even 95 plus this week. So nice longs. Okay, anybody have a question? Somebody's got a question. Okay, let's see who it is. Question is going to George. All right, George, turning you on. Go ahead, my man. Say hello.
Morning, Joe. With FOMC Wednesday, any advice?
Yep. Yes. So that's pretty much why I'm sort of saying that we're going to look for the moves later on, right? That there's going to be some additional weakness first and stuff like that, and then starting around Wednesday between the crude inventories and FOMC, I think is when we're going to see this whole reversal of the early part of the week. So the best move for you guys would be sit tight for a little bit. If you're trading day trades, in and out, quick trade, okay, so you're taking the lower time frame zone, whatever. But if you're talking about some of these bigger time frame trades, you definitely want FOMC out of the way. Should gold start to rally before FOMC and clear out some of the overhead supply When we're up somewhere around the 80s, 84, 85 before the news, you might want to consider putting a long down here at 70. Okay, and just see if you get wicked into it. It's a really small zone. Give yourself about 10, 12 ticks on the other side of the zone, and aim for after that a really nice long. I'm getting static on your mic, by the way, George. Can you shut yourself off, please? Shut yourself. Yeah, there. Okay. So that's my suggestion for you. If you're talking about FOMC, you don't want to be in gold around the news. It is extremely volatile during FOMC. The best thing to do would be to assuming gold is somewhere up here, 15, 20 bucks away from current price, stick your order inside this zone. Okay, and give yourself about 12 ticks underneath it, and see if you get lucky. Okay, that's it. It's the only trade you can take until then. After FOMC and things calm down, so then they'll start going back to normal. We should expect to see a pretty good bounce in gold by the end of the week. Hope I answered your question. Jeff has a question. Yeah, Jeff, what's up, man?
If we do break 62.8, I know that flow.
Yeah, if we break this thing under here, forget about it, baby. We're talking about in the 50s. We're going down to the low 50s.
Low 50s?
So,
okay.
Low 50s.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, low 50s. The daily demand zone's under there. I think we said the 200 moving average on the daily is around 1260, and the zone under that is like around 57 to 50 area. So, low 50s is what we're talking about if we do break down under here. Okay. Anybody else? No? All right, cool. Well, let's go on next. Let's look at the euro. The euro had a wicked sell-off. I was dead wrong on this one this week. Didn't expect it to be that bad, that big. I was looking for this to actually happen back here. We were a couple of weeks back. We started selling out of this area back here. I expected that to do what happened now to happen then. So I was way off on the timing of this thing. But it's turned over for now, and it's been pretty extended as far as the sell-off is concerned, the speed of it, right? Really harsh. We've come down into some higher time frame demand zones. Let's take a look at them. Where is euro going to go? I think, again, the same idea where we have a possibility for in the beginning of the week a little bit of weakness additional still. But by the end of the week, I would not be surprised if we're way up on euros, okay? Maybe even full retracement of the last couple of days. Maybe we touched the demand under here. I'm not sure yet. I mean, we've already hit the top of these wicks back here. With their sell-off, you can see that we're way stretched outside the bands. We have technically pulled this into a downtrend on the daily with this little pivot up here and then the break of the lows. So this has, been really harsh. Again, it could get in here. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure by the end of the week, we'll be back at least to the breakout area over here, about 118. Okay, so there's a nice bounce coming to euros. It's again later in the week type of thing. So early weakness and then strength. This week is like turnaround week. Beginning is going to be a little bit more of what we saw, and then again a big bounce. Okay, so shorts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, start thinking long. As far as, again, same idea, the euro's in a downtrend on the 60, and it needs to create an uptrend. And for that to happen, so again, we need the higher lows first. So the only question would be, we're about to arrive in some supply over here. Is that going to be the one that makes the higher low, or again, the level that, on the daily, as you can see, it's a little bit under here still. It might just turn over one more time, pop that thing, and then start its ascent. But until you see a higher low, don't take the long. Okay? A higher low, I mean a rally off the bottom, a sell-off to test the bottom, a higher low where the bottom doesn't break. Then you can start thinking to get into a long. Until then, you have to assume that prices will continue to sell off because the trend is down, and we have not even reached the daily demand. It's still a little bit down. We got to the part where we got this little bounce, and it's very well likely that we, push down a little further, and then we'll start to pick up some fresh demand from underneath the higher time frame stuff, and then it'll start to give us the bounce, and then eventually make a higher low where we can join this trade. Okay. Let's take a look on the 15, I think I saw pretty last. No, it's not there. So the supply is up here still. I mean, we hit it the first time. We sort of held the bottom. If we make another lower high, you can assume that we're going to make a lower low and break through the bottom. If we're able to get through that zone, we still are going to have to at some point pull back and make a higher low. So the longs have not begun just yet. Okay, this is all still counter trend. Any longs are still counter trend. If you want to be with the trend, you got to sit tight for a little bit more. Okay. Anybody have a question for euros? All right, got 2 questions so far. Naranja, what's up, my man? Say hi.
Hey, Joe, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, on the EC daily, is that a head and shoulder with the break of the neckline?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Yes, it is. Let's go look at it.
Yeah, it broke the neckline.
I see it. I'm not saying no. Absolutely agreed with you. This is the head right here. Now we got a shoulder here. Obviously the same level on this side. The neckline was down here at the end of the first red ERC, right? And this is now below the neckline. That's correct. And that's why that's what I'm saying. We're arriving into an area where, you know, it should start to bounce. Is it going to bounce off the top of those wicks? Is it going to bounce a little deeper in the zone? I don't know yet. That's what I'm saying. It could still get down further, but it is going to bounce back and test this breakout. That's what I'm saying. The bounce back is to where the neckline was. That's where it should come back to test.
Oh,
right?
Good. Perfect. Thank you.
Good. Yep. Okay. Okay, let's go answer Jeff's question. Yeah, Jeff. Go ahead, man. Question, Jeff? Yep.
On the 15-minute, when we see stuff like two red bars, that really hasn't made a real attempt to push down, right? So that's
let me go look at the 15-minute chart you're talking about.
Yeah, on the 15-minute, when we see the red bars like that, it hasn't made a real push down. Would you agree with that, or what do you think about it?
We're talking about these 2 red bars here. What are we talking about?
I'm talking about the uptrend that we're seeing on the 15-minute.
No, that's nothing. That's nothing. That's just noise. Yeah, those are nothing. No. We need a sell-off where we have continued selling to test this bottom down here and a hold of the bottom somewhere around here. Right? Okay. And then we can talk about, that we're ready to start rallying. That's what I mean by higher or low. Just this little blip here or this little thing here, that's nothing. That's none. You have to be able to say that the sellers have taken control of price action. If you can say that, then we can consider that, a test of the bottom. But this is clearly no selling that's taken control of price action whatsoever, right?
Okay. I just want to confirm that's all garbage.
Yeah, it's all garbage. Absolutely, bro. Okay. Continue. Let's go. All right. Nice. So far, again, the best looking trades I've seen so far is crude, and there are 2 really nice currency trades that we're going to talk about in a second. But these are a little bit rougher. There's a little bit weight. You have to wait them out. They're not ready yet. The gold and the euro, they're still cooking. They're not ready. Okay. Oops. I hope that doesn't freeze up. Sometimes that error will freeze my trade station. I really hope that won't be the case right now. Let's see. Nope. Okay, good. All right. Let's erase. Okay, cool. All right. So the yen. Continued sell-off this week. Similar to gold, we've come back into prior demand area, right? You can see that these lows down here have worked a couple of times. The last time we were in this area, we did make a new high, and we got to fresh supply up here on the weekly chart, and therefore we should expect a bounce from this area, right? Price should not just chop through here. We should get a bounce. If we make a higher high or a lower high is yet to be determined, but in either way, we should rally, at least back to the supply zone, back here. Right, and where we've got the 200 average, 50 moving average, somewhere around 9,000 is what we should see, and then we'll have to decide which way price wants to go after that. So yen bounce is what's coming, according to this chart at least. We see that last right here, the zone that we've arrived. You can see where it was last. We have these twins back here around July, gave us the most recent high, and therefore the zone has strength. Okay. those buyers will defend that position. Okay, and therefore we're going to get a bounce. It's actually started, but same idea where we don't have the higher low yet, right? It's just one shot off the bottom. It's going to come into some of the supply pretty soon, and we'll have to come back, pull back, and see if they're really going to fight off this, this level. If we make another lower high, I would say the level's going to break and we're done and that's it. But as long as we hold that bottom, we can start considering that we should really get back to about 9,000 for the yen. Okay, it's all the way up here, 89, 9 or something up here. So we'll know, I guess pretty much by the beginning of the week again, where that, pullback is going to come to. Once it does happen, if we can see that prices are starting to hold up, we should expect that we're going to get, up to 9,000. Look at the 60. That's the zone where I'm talking about, where the higher low should occur. Somewhere inside this area, we're arriving into supply, and we should push back into this zone and hopefully hold the zone. And then, then we're talking about somewhere up here. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So again, the yen is not ready just yet, and we're right at the supply. The trend is actually still down. If you want to take the supply zone, you can. Just be careful down that side inside the demand zone and see what happens. If it starts holding, get out of your short, and anticipate that it's going to start to rally. Okay. Questions for the yen? None. Cool. Okay. I want to go over to Nat Gas. Nat Gas had a brutal week, and basically it was a rollover. That's basically what it was. It was fill the gap of the rollover gap, and that happens a lot. Okay. When we roll over, you should anticipate usually the first couple of trading days, usually the first 3, we will get a fill of the rollover gap. Okay. We've rolled over to Z this past week, and you can see clearly that from here to here, we opened up the new contract monthly price was here. It was in some daily supply when it happened, and then straight down to fill the gap. Okay, it actually not only filled the gap of the rollover, it actually got to the gap from last Sunday night, which it had left part of. Because early in the week, Nat Gas no pun intended, it was on fire. It was blowing up, and it just after rollover collapsed. Okay, now it's created some supply zones on the way. I think we've seen the pullback. It's over. I believe Nat Gas should start to rally. Could we get a little deeper? Of course. There's still some demand under here in a lower time frame. But at some point this week, I'm pretty sure we're going to see this supply zone up here, which means we're going to get a really nice bounce up. Okay, potentially 100 ticks or so to the upside for Nat Gas. Trend is currently still down. Right, but we know that also it's coming into prime time, season for natural gas as the winter months are rolling around. It's time for this to bounce. Okay. Look at this on the 60. There's our Sunday gap, last Sunday's gap. So it's got a couple of ticks left. Maybe tonight it'll fill it. Not sure, but you can see there's a ton of air above us, right? And there's really not much before we clear. All the way up to 3060, 3070, which is 100 ticks from where we are. All right, so I'm looking for Nat Gas to rally. Target 3060. Okay. All right, assuming there's no questions, I'm going to move on. And this is the first trade that I'm really excited about. The next one is really nice. Pretty sure what we're looking at here. Take a look at the Aussie dollar. This is an excellent setup for a swing trade. Okay, you can see that we had a very long-term range back here, right? Almost 2 years or so of sideways. We broke out around June, July to the upside. We've hit weekly supply back here. This zone got hit right back here prior to the fresh part, right? It was level on level. And we pulled back and we've tested the breakout and we hit the 50 moving average on the weekly chart, okay? With this pullback. This is a drop-based drop. This is still an uptrend. Okay? There's no pivot here. This is one shot down off the highs. Trend is up. And therefore, the minute it starts turning around, we want to get long. Okay, well, let's go see if it started turning around. Okay. Here's our 240 chart. Okay, the trend on the 240 is down, right? We did have a pivot back here, a couple of them actually, and with lower high, lower lows. So we did flip over on the 240, but guess what? We landed right inside this demand zone, okay? And we got a really nice bounce, and again, that one shot off the bottom bounce, which means we can actually start to anticipate this trade, right? We're going to hit some supply. All we need to see is a higher low. That's it. Once we got that higher low, we need to remember the daily is actually in an uptrend. Therefore, we join this trade and we start going back and retracing all these zones. We're getting into a swing trade for Aussie dollars, where the target at the ultimate part of this trade is new highs on the weekly chart. That's what we're talking about now. Okay, the way to get into this is to watch the 60 chart. The first sign of a higher low. Well, here's our 60 chart. And there's the supply we're about to arrive into, okay? And there's the demand zone that's sitting underneath us. A nice, fresh, new demand zone right there. 76.57, 76.47. Sorry about the pen that keeps dragging around. It's just a function of the fact that I'm on my laptop sitting in my house. Right here, this little zone here, okay? We're about to hit the supply, and we'll get a back test. This is the entry for the long, right here. All right, it's a small zone. It's only 10 ticks. If you take it inside the zone, you give yourself 12 ticks altogether. So, you know, you're talking about somewhere you stop somewhere around, you know, I would say somewhere in the middle of this area back here, maybe around 30 or so, something like that. You know, depending on where you get in. So let's call it, if you get in, actually a little higher, maybe like 35 would be the stop. But right inside this zone is the long sitting for a swing trade. It's right here. We want to get this supply out of the way first. So what we're looking for is price to hit this, get it out of our face, and then pull back, because that will open up at least until here, right? That's the next fresh supply zone. So that's more than enough room to get risk off the trade and to allow for fluctuations. If my stop is all the way down here, right, and now price is all the way up here, that's going to give me plenty of cushion to try and ride this thing out, because look what's above that zone, right? Well, that zone's already been touched, so it's not fresh. And if we can clear that thing too, well, oh boy, now we're all the way up back to 8,000 potentially, right? 7,800, I'm sorry, 7,800. So there's plenty of room to the upside here, remembering where this chart or this trade is on the higher time frame, and understanding that we're actually in an uptrend, and this would be the end of the corrective move and the beginning of the next impulse. And therefore, we're looking for a long in Aussie dollar, okay? And all we want to do that is a pullback off the supply. And the supply test of this demand zone that's underneath here, I just showed it to you on the 60, that's it. We're getting into this trade. Okay, so it's long Aussie dollars. You know, the target of this week at minimum should be somewhere around 7,800. And I believe it, you know, if you want to sit this thing out and let it go, there is potential for us to reach, you know, the weekly highs back there, and potentially break these highs all the way up at 8,150 plus. Okay. Anybody have a question on Aussie dollar? Somebody does. Loic, what's up, my man? Go ahead, you should be on, Loic.
Hey Joe, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Quick question: would you take the trade if price goes back down to that 76?
I absolutely would. Absolutely would. Absolutely.
Even if price does not get to the supply zone, like if it goes back down to the DZ without actually going to the supply zone.
It makes a lower high first, is what you're asking me.
Yes.
Price doesn't, where it's from right now, it makes a lower high and comes back to the bottom again. Would I take the trade?
Yes.
Probably not as a limit entry anymore. If it hits the supply first, I will definitely take a limit stop, set and forget trade inside this demand zone on the 60. But if it turns around right now and just comes back to this zone, I would probably wait for it to turn around before I take the trade. So that's what your question is, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just clarify for everybody else. If this zone gets hit first, I'll put an order in here. Limit, set and forget. If this comes back here first, sorry, not all the way down there. Hit it again. I got to be a little more careful with the pen. If it comes back to this zone, without hitting the supply first, then we're just going to watch to make sure this turns around, and once it does, then we can enter the trade. Okay? Good? Okay. Someone else has a question?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. Let's begin. All right, so now that was our first one that I was really excited about. The next one is going to be the last thing we're going to look at today, Canadian dollar, which is also setting up for a really, really nice long, okay? Let's take a look at that. Similar idea. First of all, Canadian, you could see had some really strong selling this week, okay, and mostly because of their announcements and stuff like that. But we did hit weekly demand, right in here, and at the same time, we know that crude has been really strong, right? So that usually gives legs to Canadian, right? It's one of their main exports, and we should start to see a really nice bounce out of here. If you look at this, the trend is up as well over here. This is a drop-based drop. It's only one move down. There are no pivots, and therefore we're in an uptrend pulling back into a weekly demand zone. Well, that's a corrective move. If that's the end of the corrective move, what's next is an impulsive move. And therefore, once I see that this is actually going to hold, I want to get long Canadian, because the next leg up should take out the highs on the weekly chart, just like the Aussie, right? So let's go take a look at that on the lower time frames and see where the zones are that we can use to join this trade. Where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. Okay. Actually, did I skip the SIC 240 chart? I think I did. Let's go look at it before we run away. Yes, there it is. So, first of all, again, 240. We've hit. I should go to the daily. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm so excited. I'm going out of order. We've hit daily demand. Yes, we have. Fresh daily demand. Yes, we have. Oops, just moved my line. Sorry about that. I put it back. Okay, take a look back here. There is our fresh daily demand zone. Okay, July 10th, by the way. That's my birthday. There. So we've hit this zone, and we've started to bounce off of it, right? You're outside the daily Bollinger Bands into fresh daily demand. Well, that's a recipe for a bounce, usually, okay? And we will start to see on the lower time frames that that's exactly what started already, right? This is still an uptrend even on the daily chart, right? We have a drop-based drop, which is still only one move. Sellers in control, no buyers. So this is a corrective move that's in a uptrend. Well, here's the 240, there's the demand zone that we touched, and there's the beginning of the bounce, right? We get twins at the bottom, right at the demand zone, and we're about to hit the fresh supply on the 240 that created that low. What should happen here? Well, if this is really the end of the corrective move down here, we have to clear this supply zone, which means we'll get a pullback, and we'll get a higher low, and then we'll do this, right? That's what we're looking for. So that, again, same idea. We're looking for that first higher low, and we're going to get into this trade. Okay, so let's go see if we can find out where the zones are. This is a really nice long cleaning up setup, especially if we clear that 240 supply out of the way. We hit this first. You see how much air is up there, baby? We can get into this trade somewhere down 77, 7, and we're talking about 79. It's like 500 ticks, 400 ticks before we have to worry about supply. So there's a really, really nice Canadian trade setting up. You can see that the bounce off the bottom is one move straight up. You can see where the supply zone is, and you can see that freaking air that is sitting up here. That is all money waiting to be claimed. So best case scenario, we hit the supply up here, and we bounce back into this demand zone down here, and then we just rocket ship out and just climb through this all the way back to 79 change, right? That's the utopian trade. If that plays out, oh boy, just get in and don't look twice. Okay, should that not happen, and we actually make a lower high first again for the week, right? Whoever else is going to ask, well, then we need to see that this is actually going to hold, because there is some more demand underneath. We're not sure that this is actually the bottom just yet. We saw that the zone on the daily, it got touched. It wasn't totally taken to. Maybe it wants to get deeper. I don't know. Another lower high, which should make a lower low. This is all one move, so we'd have to be careful. I would not buy this zone anymore as a limit order. I'd have to actually watch it come into the zone and turn around And if it does hold and creates that higher low that I'm talking about, then we can get long. But if it hits this zone first, it's worth the risk taking the limit order down here. I would definitely do that. Okay, so the reward of entering at 77 with a target of 79 is just well worth the risk that you'd have to take that trade. That is more than 10 to 1. Okay, so that is the best trade I'm looking at between Aussie and Canadian. Those are the two that are the most, I would say the trades of the week. Third behind that is probably around is crude. Understanding what crude is going to do, with a little rally up into that 55 and then the sell off down into the 52 range. Okay, that is my presentation for today. If anyone has any questions, go ahead. Let's take them now. Otherwise, we're wrapping it up. Okay, so let's see who's got a question. Yes, sir. What's up, Malik? Go ahead, Malik. Yosef, got a couple of questions. Go ahead.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Just a technical question on the 60. I had exactly the same zone drawn on the 60, but I only took the doji. So it's true that it's a very tight demand zone. Why? Like, I'm trying to understand why would you take the entire ERC to place it this? Here we go. Yeah.
What time again? Where are we looking at? What zone are we talking about? Oh, this here. This little thing over here. Yeah, the zone is just too small. I usually will count the leg in. So the leg in would bring me into this ERC over here. This is really tiny. I mean, you can't say that this is just the zone and say that I'm absolutely wrong underneath this little tiny blip. I mean, a little bit hard to say. When it's that small, I'll pick up the leg in and put I'll just pull the man zone down a little bit like this or like this, and that's it. So somewhere inside the zone is where I'm going to enter. I don't think that this low, which is what you're looking at over here, this candle is actually going to be the bottom. If we pull back, we're going to get into the zone itself. So,
did you do that to actually pick up all the wicks on the left-hand side or not?
I will many times pick up the leg into the zone. The conditions are, assuming it's not adding too much risk, and it's pretty much necessary when the zone is very, very small. Okay, so it's a really, really small zone. Pick up the wick on the backside. Otherwise, if you can do it without adding too much risk, even if the zone is a little bigger, I would still recommend doing it. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Super.
Right,
thanks.
Next. You got it, man. Next, Yosef. Go ahead.
How are you, Joe? I understand the CG trade. I was just a little bit confused with the limit entry. I was under the impression that you don't take the limit entries unless it's a trade.
Well, with swing trade I do. For a swing trade, let them set and forget type of trade, I will definitely take a limit order. When there's that much potential win for me, talking about something around 77 to 79, that's 400 ticks. Well, that definitely makes sense. Absolutely. Especially because remember, we're still with the update. The higher time frames are all in an uptrend. Right? So I will anticipate that the 60 will create that higher low when there's this much potential reward for that. So
really
I'm sorry. Raise your hand again. I'm sorry. I pushed the wrong button. I shut you off. Raise your hand again. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically you're saying that the decisive factor for the swing trade to take a limit entry would be here, is that just its potential?
No. First of all, you need to be with the higher time frame trend, right? For this type of trade that we're talking about, we're joining the trend on the higher time frame, and we're just looking for the end of the corrective move. That's this trade, right? We're saying that this downtrend that's going on the lower time frames is corrective versus the higher time frame trend, and we're looking for it to end. I've found evidence that it's landed in the higher time frame zone, and it started to rally. All I'm looking for is for the 60 to join the other time frames back in an uptrend. Well, for that to happen, I need a higher low. I've identified the area where I believe the higher low will come. And now it's an assessment of risk. Is that worth a limit order? Yes or no? That depends on what my risk to reward ratio is at this point, right? That's it. So if it's not worth the risk to reward, I'll wait for it to turn around. I won't take a limit order here, right? But when it is worth it, I don't have a problem taking that risk. For me, this is well worth the risk. Well worth the risk. This is one of the better trades I've seen in a few months. Okay. So, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem. David has a question? Yes, David.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
On this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Sorry. I hung up on you. Raise your hand again. Unintentional. Sorry, pushing the wrong button. All right, go ahead. Yeah. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm taking this personally, but okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the CD, when you hit that supply, but if it, if it goes through without pulling down, not establishing uptrend, you still take the
that is absolutely correct. Okay, so he's presenting a very good point. Thank you for mentioning that, David. The uptrend will not. This can go straight from this bottom here to all-time highs, and the trend will still be down. Okay, it does not change until you get a higher low and then a higher high in that order. Okay, so can I take a breakout above here? You can take a breakout above here, but you're still counter trend, right? So there's no supply in the way, so it's great. There's plenty of air, but you have to know that it's a counter trend trade, and you have to get out at the first level of supply. You can't assume any supply will break when you're in a counter trend, right? So yes, you can take a breakout of this particular trade, absolutely, because of all the air above, but you're not going to be in an uptrend. And that's why I said the utopian trade is actually if we clean this out of the way first, create the higher low, and then turn around, because then we're also in an uptrend and I have the air. And then I could start really shooting for the moon, right? That's why that's the best trade that would lay out, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. It could be that you just break the top, you're right, and you'd have to get long with a breakout and just get out at the first supply zone, because that first supply zone will then create the lower high for you, and then you'll get the trade a little bit later on again to join the longs when it becomes the trend, right? So those are the two options. You're right, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
You got it, Niranjan.
Hey, Joe, and
yep.
Yeah, and similar to the GC, I think somebody mentioned, if it makes a lower low, then all bets are off the table, right? If it just
that is correct.
Supply.
Same idea. Same idea. Yeah. Yep. If we get below here, so again, I was still looking for this though. The difference is that GC on the higher time frame, Niranjan, is actually the downtrend. Okay.
I see.
The higher time frames in Canadian is still up.
Up. Okay.
So we'd have to reassess the trend if we do break those lows down here, what that's going to do to us. But I highly doubt we're breaking down beyond this zone. I really don't think it's going to happen. We'll find out soon enough. I really, that again, for me, if we hit this first and we come back down to here, it's just buy like a drunken sailor. Don't think twice. Okay? This is going to give us a really nice move out of this thing, and that's my intention. That's what I plan on doing. We'll see what happens. If it does, does not work, so we'll have to reassess. But this is the type of trade where you're
reward
going to get back money. Yeah, I mean, come on, what are you talking about? How often do you have risk to reward with this kind of setup? It's very rare. Very rare. Okay?
Cool, thank you.
All right, you got it. Okay, that's it for now. I hope you guys had a great session. The recording will be out in a little while, and we'll see you guys next week. All the best. Trade safe, trade smart, and be cool. Ciao.